Hello and welcome to episode 21 of the Gold Goats and Guns podcast. My name is Tom Luongo. It's Saturday, July 15th, 2017. So, big week as always. Lots of stuff going on. We're going to focus on geopolitics this morning because a lot of little things happened this week that bear on a lot of the bigger stories. But you got to delve into some of the details in order to understand the bigger picture. So let's get right to it. All right. I want to talk about something that happened just recently. I was reading this morning, actually, before I went live. I was looking for bullet points. I'm like, what am I going to write about? Oh, what am I going to talk about? Oh, look. So for the last few months, I know I've mentioned it in passing at times that Russia and Japan have been attempting a kind of reconciliation. It's kind of an important subplot in all of this, that Putin and Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe have been talking about how they can resolve their differences that stretch all the way back to World War II, specifically over the Kuril Islands, that has precluded them from signing a peace treaty, technically, since the end of World War II. Now, obviously, there's no Soviet Union left to sign a peace treaty with, who Japan was technically at war with back in 1945, but it still bears that there's no formal agreement between Russia and Japan, and a lot of that has to do with U.S. interference at a fundamental level. That this is a relic of the Cold War, and Putin and Abe both want to affect some kind of reconciliation. Abe wants the Kuril Islands back. Putin doesn't want to give them back, so they've started to work out a third way, as always, to just talk about the issue and find other ways of cooperating that don't involve diplomatic transfer or official transfer of property. Again, diplomacy and conversation are far more effective than taking, kind of a moral high ground and saying, "Oh no, we can't negotiate with these people because they're evil," which is what's been going on all week in the U.S. media. And Tucker Carlson, for example, has been destroying that narrative left and right. And I think it actually has to do with some pressure that's being put on John McCain behind the scenes. And we'll get to that in a little while. But let's start here in Japan. So the Japanese and the Russians, signed some trade deals the last time that they were together. Abe was at the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, and the relationship between the two leaders and the two countries has been thawing to a point where they want to what's the word I'm looking for? Partner up on a major oil and gas exploration project, in the area. And what I read this morning was that now the Americans are forcing the Japanese to back down due to the sanctions that have been put in place, and we're basically threatening the Japanese behind the scenes with getting around the sanctions, and that's a no-no, right? Now, the Japanese can ignore the Americans on this, but then the Americans would have to respond. And so at this point, it looks like those deals are in limbo because the Americans are putting their foot down on Japanese and Russian relations on the issue. So there's not going to be any joint venture between INPEX, the Japanese state oil company, and Rosneft, the Russian state oil company. So it's not going to happen, at least right now, until they figure something else out, some way of technically getting around the sanctions. What's important here to understand is not the machinations of this, right? It's that at the end of the day, by doing this, all we're doing is shortening the lifespan of the empire by continually forcing our allies to act against their own best interest. Eventually, they will rebel, and as I said in a recent article, I said in relation to Qatar. If the Saudis try to put extreme pressure on Qatar financially and through the banking system and get the Americans to back their play to the end, the only real threat that's credible at this point because Qatar has yuan clearing services domestically and a variety of other things and swap lines with other currencies, is for the Americans to threaten to kick them out of the SWIFT system. It's the nuclear option. At some point, Japan's nowhere close to this, right? The Japan and U.S. relations are nowhere close to this bad. But they are bad, and they are going to deteriorate in that direction every time something like this comes up. This is a 2 or 3 year project now between Putin and Abe. Now, the Obama administration really screwed the pooch with these sanctions. It's going to backfire on us in every way imaginable. And honestly, the leader for all of this is John McCain. He's the leading advocate for all of this stuff. He's the most powerfully placed war hawk and irrational Russia hater in American politics. And if you watch him talk about Russia, you can see it at the core of his being that he just hates the Russians with an irrational, ideological fervor. In the same way that Tucker Carlson saw it when dealing with Lieutenant Colonel Ralph Peters earlier in the week, and then Max Boot right after it. It's the way the Washington, that level of visceral hatred of Russia is so ingrained in the Washington establishment psyche that Trump's got a major problem in trying to move relations forward, and that's why they're scared. That's why they were so scared to actually have the two of them meet, because they knew what was going to happen, and which was that these two pragmatists were going to get together and they were going to start forging deals that were in the best interest of both countries. And as far as John McCain is concerned, and Max Boot and the rest of them, and the neocons, Bill Kristol and the right, that's immoral. And we have to be better than that, because there's nothing more immoral in this world than Vladimir Putin. That's nonsense, mind you, but this is who these people are. And McCain's ideology and McCain's weddedness to this insane policy, lack of policy, to be honest with you, has him in serious trouble now. We can see the effects of a lot of Trump's guys beginning to strike back. There is the tacit approval of Viktor Orban's anti-Soros campaign in Hungary. And then we had the Israeli Foreign Ministry, unbidden, finally say nasty things about Soros and his long-standing opposition to the Israeli government, and how he's been attempting to destabilize the Israeli government for years. Halsey and I were talking about this the other night on his chat, and everybody knows it, but it has been going on for years, but no one would say anything because, you don't go against the tribe. But now Soros is so beyond the pale and so transparent in his attacks on on people who are in Israel's corner, namely Trump, that we're starting to see that breakdown. That and Israel is beginning to flex its wings as an independent foreign policy actor, which is a good thing. It's no longer a vassal state purely a vassal state of the U.S. deep state. And McCain is the hack dog on this. And you have that, you have the things that came out yesterday and the day before about McCain sending an aide overseas to work on, to build out that dossier. That was the one that has Trump pissing on a hooker in Moscow or St. Petersburg or wherever it was. That ridiculous thing that was absolutely the basis for all of the wiretapping and everything else. This was an attempt by a sitting senator and the chair of the Foreign Relations Committee and the chair of the Armed Services Committee to destroy a political opponent through colluding with a foreign government. That's what this comes down to. And it goes deeper than that. There's other signs of it as well. But this is all just this week. And Fox News or letting Tucker Carlson crush Max Boot and Ralph Peters. And then continue to do so later in the week. Tells me that something is about to happen. Because McCain is the key to Trump getting control of his administration. Because they don't have, he doesn't have a majority Senate. Nominally, it's 52-48. Nonsense. McCain and Graham make it 50-50. Marco Rubio is a swing vote of 51-49. So McCain still thinks he has power. And he does have power. Until the day that he doesn't. And he goes down for being a traitor. And everybody knows the man's a traitor. And everybody knows he sung like a bird when he was captured by the North Vietnamese. And he knows it. And he's completely owned and controlled. It's just a matter of how you stage and how you roll out the information against him to take him down. And once you take him down, then you get control of the Senate. Then you can get your legislation through. And as long as Trump gets that done before the end of this year, so we get into the 2018 midterm election cycle with him affecting his domestic policy, there's no worry. Because, and here's the thing, you take McCain down, it doesn't matter. Lindsey Graham doesn't matter at that point. Lindsey Graham immediately rolls over like a three-legged Omega dog. And says, yeah, no, I'm okay. I'm on your side now. Because Lindsey Graham is not an idiot. He's a venal cockroach. And he'll do whatever he has to do to stay in power. The man is the exact opposite of an alpha male. So McCain's the key. You get McCain, everything begins to fall apart really quickly. And I really do think that McCain is in trouble. There's very early signs of it, but I think he's right. I think Trump and Bannon are ready to move against him. That they've had enough of his nonsense. And he's the conduit through which Clinton and Obama and the shadow government, whatever you want to call them, are doing all of these horrible things. But Trump is going to get McCain. And McCain is going to go down. And he's going to go down in disgrace. And it's going to be beautiful to see because the man's a traitor. The man's vile. He's a disgusting jackass who has never worked in a day in his life. He's not a patriot. And he's the fulcrum by which the world continues to be destabilized by irrational and idiotic foreign policy. The result of which is that now the Turks, I've been telling you for weeks that the Turks are members of NATO in name only. The Turks no longer really want EU membership anymore. Who the hell would want to be a part of Angela Merkel's EU at this point? Turkey's making deals with Hungary, massive deals with Hungary, to build a fork off the Turkish Stream pipeline into Hungary. That was negotiated recently. Just last week. But now they're buying S-400s from the Russians. They're a NATO country. They own F-16s, and now they're going to buy S-400s? If you're buying Russian military hardware, you're no longer a U.S. ally. Let's just call a spade a spade. Erdogan is done. He's no longer quote unquote fighting on the American side. He's fighting on his own side, and he knows that his bread is buttered better with Putin than it is with anyone else. And I don't even think Trump cares at this point. And it's nothing Trump did. This is all Obama's fault. Because of how they attempted to take down Syria. And it all comes down to massive imperial overreach in Syria. And now it's Trump's job and Tillerson's job to manage the retreat while John McCain fulminates and attempts to start World War III. That's what's going on. I mean, in, the 40,000 foot level. This is what's happening. Right? So, yeah. Told you that the Turks were no longer our allies. They're not going to be. They may stay in NATO for a while, but they're not going to be. Eventually, they will move into the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. You wait. It's coming. All right. The last thing to talk about and I'll get to the charts, but is why the massive breakdown in Bitcoin. Now, I think the last time we spoke, I said that Bitcoin had a high probability setup for a push to $3,500. Well, obviously that didn't happen. And the reason that didn't happen is that there's now sincere concerns over the Bitcoin network surviving the hard fork that's scheduled for August, because there is still dissension in the ranks of the effectively the major shareholders in Bitcoin, the major holders of Bitcoin, and those who own the most coins and are in charge of the implementation. And there's the implementation of this hard fork and the change in the block size and all the technical stuff that needs to happen in order for Bitcoin to grow up or become irrelevant. And that's putting a tremendous pressure on the entire cryptocurrency market. And I think that it's a bit of that, and it's never hard to lean on a market that's been bearish. It's not hard to do that. So I wouldn't worry about it. In the long run, it's not an issue. It really isn't. It's like even Bitcoin is going to be subject to the false move. And after a massive run up earlier in the year, to have it correct the way it has, 35%, 30%, it's not really an untoward thing. Bitcoin could correct from down to $1,500, and it would still be in a massive bull market. It's just the bull market might not, reassert itself for a couple of months. That's all. It's all about timing. All right. That's where we are. Let's get to the charts, and I'll get you out of here. All right. So let's talk about gold. We had a nice bounce in gold on Friday, but seriously, look at the chart and tell me. Look at this chart and tell me that there's anything bullish going on here. Yeah, we closed last week below this low. That's bad. We didn't close this week above this high. That's it's neutral. We closed in the upper half of this bar, which is good, but it's still not great. The truth is that this is a dead cat bounce. This is your classic dead cat bounce. You want to watch for a move back up towards this high of like a 1242 this week and see if we can close above that. If we do, well, that would be a 2-bar reversal on the weekly chart, and it would give some impetus to maybe get back into the 1250s, maybe the 1260s before falling off again. But there is a downtrend in place here now on the weekly chart. There it is. This uptrend is now broken. We are now on this. Okay, and then it's just as evident as just an extension of the bearishness on the monthly and quarterly charts. All right, so this is a false move. Gold has one more big washout. The same way that Bitcoin's drop is a false move down to 2,000, and the same way that the euros move up towards $1.15 is a false move, in the same way that the Canadian dollar's breaking down to $1.26. It'll probably continue to rise for a little while longer, but certainly not much longer than that. You can see the same thing with oil. Oil is refusing to break down because there's too many people that are vested in the idea of keeping oil higher. So every once in a while we see these 45, 50, 75 cent moves and spike moves in oil that are completely counterintuitive. Same thing in silver. And here's your when you shorten up these charts and you start taking away some of the bullish picture from previously, it's like, oh, it's not too bearish. I'm like, no, here's the weekly chart of silver for the year. That's a terribly bearish chart. It just is. How much farther does it have to go to drop? I don't know. But the dollar index broke down below the quarterly line in the sand on Friday. We probably will get a bottom sometime this quarter. I don't know if we're going to get a spike bottom in the dollar or not. I'm guessing that we are, but that's my feel. But we've got at least another couple of weeks of bearish activity in all of these markets as the markets continue to move against the dominant trend. And that's setting up for a big move in the opposite direction, right? So we still have time to accumulate silver and gold shares in high-quality companies. You still have time to place your dollar bullish bets. Okay? And there should be a great shorting opportunity in the euro the minute it gets anywhere close to $1.16. So there you go. All right, so that's the situation in silver. It's not. I think we're going to see $13 before we ever see 17. But again, this week could be the spike bottom. But last week should have been the spike bottom. Look at the size of that move, and then we still broke that down, and then we closed up for the week. This is possible that this is the spike bottom. It's possible. I wouldn't put a lot of stock in it at this point, not given everything else that's happening. Okay, and this bearishness in both silver and gold is happening against the backdrop of a weak dollar. Right, that's impressive. It's telling you that right now, euro liquidity is the important thing. Okay, and here's the situation in Bitcoin. As I went to press this morning, Bitcoin was holding that level. You see there, I've got marked on the chart the spike low from 5 weeks ago at 2050 and 20 cents, so just 2050. That's about where Bitcoin is right now. It needs to close this week and hold that level and push a little higher off of that level, and then see what happens next week. But this breakdown is significant because this really was a nice high quality setup for a move higher. But we didn't break. But here's the thing: this week we never saw Bitcoin break higher, meaning the selling started the minute news started to hit the market that there was not going to be that the hard fork wasn't going to be an easy time, and because of that, there's some selling, and it's taken the rest of the cryptocurrencies down along with it. Ethereum, Monero, Steam, Litecoin has held up really nicely, but again, because Litecoin has held up nicely because it's backed off from its high of around $58 down into the 40s, but still, so what? It's not, anything above $40 was fraud. It was the doubling from 20 to 40 that was the important move. Now let's see if Litecoin can hold $40. Okay. All right. So that's pretty much what I've got for this week. I want, or at least for the next few days, I'll probably try and get one of these together in the next few days to see what happens in the Bitcoin market. I'm sure that gold and silver will decide whether or not they're going to give us any follow-through action to the downside or whether they're going to bounce further here. A bounce further would be good, but looking at this chart, I'm not expecting it. The truth is that I'm looking at gold here. This could be a very shallow downtrend channel, which would be good. But at the same time, it could be a shallow downtrend channel until we get a massive bit of dollar illiquidity, and then at that point, the bottom drops out of the gold market. I'm feeling that in my bones at this point, and the charts are beginning to bear it out. So, all right, y'all take care, and we will talk soon. Oh, and no, sorry. Last things first. There's going to be, and I'm going to post links to it. We've got a massive thing happening with Halsey News starting tomorrow, hopefully. Not tomorrow, then early this week, where we're going to be starting an Indiegogo crowdfunding campaign to capitalize the entire Halsey News network. Gold, Goats, and Guns will be a part of that. I will be a part of that, and so will others, along with Tim Preuss and Steph McWilliams over at Right Millennial and a few others. And that is a massive thing, and I will have links to it, and I will be promoting it pretty much regularly on this podcast for the next month, along with, so if you can support the work over there and, find your way over to the crowdfunding site, when I have a link, I'll drop it in there, but I just want to let you know that we have big plans ahead here. Halsey's been talking about this in oblique terms for weeks now, but those plans are now coming to fruition. Once that campaign is live, it would be great if we could get some backing from y'all and so we can properly professionalize all of this work that we're doing. Because if you like the content and you like what we do here, then it needs support, and getting that off the ground so that we can then turn it into a very self-sustaining project would be a great thing for all of us. So appreciate your time, appreciate your effort, and appreciate you listening. So you all take care. Have a great couple of days. We'll talk soon. Keep your stick on the ice.